Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri. Rabbi zidni ilma. In the name of Allah, my Lord, open up for me my chest and ease my task for me. My Lord, increase me in knowledge. Now, today's topic, Salat. This is a huge topic, I must admit. It's a huge topic, very important. Now, I must admit something to you, brothers and sisters. This is actually my second attempt at making this video. Now, my first attempt, I've made the video some time ago and I uploaded the video. I felt as though I didn't do justice to the topic. I was really unhappy with the video, so I decided to remove it, okay? This is my second attempt, so inshallah, God willing, I'll do a better job, okay? Now, the term Salat. Now, traditionally, when we are told that Salat is this 5 daily ritualistic prayer, okay? Now, I'm not here to say to you, you're right, you're wrong. That's not my job, okay? I'm here to present to you, to make bayyinah of the verses, to show you what the verses are actually saying, okay? And you could draw your own conclusions, okay? Now, traditionally, we're told that the Salat is this 5 daily ritualistic prayer, right? And on the other side of the scale, you have the Qur'an alone brothers who say, no, it's not ritualistic prayer. It simply means, it could mean something like do your duty, or it could mean adherence, or it could mean following closely, or it could mean salah sessions, etc. Now, look, a lot of what they say makes sense, okay? Now, I'm not here to say you're right, you're wrong, okay? I'm just here to give you the facts, okay? To do bayyinah of the verses of Allah. Now, bismillah, let's get started, okay? Now, actually, before I get started, there's one more thing I'd like to mention. Now, the term salat, I can tell you with certainty, the word salat, okay, as it's used in the Quran, it's actually, you could say it's an umbrella term. It's an umbrella term whereas it's a wide range of, you could say, commands or duties, and rather than one specific thing. Okay, does that make sense? It's an umbrella term which covers a wide range of commands or duties rather than being one specific thing. Okay? Now, I'll also show you that very frequently throughout the Quran, you'll see the term Salat used in conjunction with other things. You know, very frequently, you'll hardly ever see the Quran say, oh, just perform the Salat and leave it at that. It usually says, do the Salat and such and such. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about in a moment, okay? We'll get started. Now, the word Salat, okay, in Arabic, now brothers, you have to understand one fundamental fact. The Quran is in Arabic, brothers and sisters. Now, whether you like this or not, we have to adhere to the Arabic language, okay? It's just like the Old Testament is in Hebrew, right? And the New Testament is in Greek. Whether you like it or not, this is the way it is, okay? Now, the term Salat comes from the root Sad, Lam, Waw, and it can mean the following, okay? This is according to Lane's dictionary. Now, there are many dictionaries available. There's Lane's dictionary, which is my favorite. There's Han's dictionary. There's Lisan al-Arab, and there are so many others. It's up to you which one you want to use, okay? Now, according to Lane's dictionary, the word Salat, Sad, Lam, Waw, means prayer. It can mean prayer, believe it or not, okay? Supplication, petition, oration, eulogy, benediction, commendation, blessing, honor, magnify, bring forth, follow closely, walk or follow behind closely, to remain attached, to contact or be in contact. Okay, now this is what it means in the Arabic language. We have to do justice to the language. For example, like it wouldn't be good if we were to just like pluck words out of the Quran and just ignore the Arabic language and say, oh, it means this. For example, I'll give you an example here. Now, traditionally, they use the word Mehdi. Now, if you go asking any brother or sister, brother, tell me about Mehdi. Now, they're going to give you this whole narrative about Mehdi is some dude who's going to appear in the end of times. He's going to lead the Muslim armies. They're going to kill the Dajjal. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. But the word Mehdi in the Quran appears 3 times. And you know what this means? Mehdi simply, it just refers to the cradle in which Jesus slept in as an infant. This is what Mehdi means. Brothers, you have to do justice to the Arabic language. There's no point plucking words out of the Quran in Arabic and giving them different definitions. Now, according to the Arabic language, this is what Salat could mean. Okay? Now, of course, whatever you think or believe Salat to be, brothers and sisters, to me, as long as you're confining to the Arabic language, that's important, brothers. Whatever meaning. If you say, oh, salah means following closely, yes, it can mean that according to the language. If you want to say, oh, it means, it means contact. Okay, well, that's in the confines of the Arabic language. So however you interpret it, as long as it's within the confines of the language, that's fine. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now, moving on. Okay, here are some derived forms of that root, sad, lam, waw. You get the word salat, salawat. Salawat is pretty much the plural of salat. Salla, sallu, salli, yusallu, yusalli, etc. Now, my primary focus is going to be salat in this presentation. Okay, otherwise the presentation will go on forever. MashaAllah. Okay. Now, the very first time where the word salat appears is in chapter 2, verse 3. So very early on in the Qur'an. It reads the following. Those who believe in the unseen, الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ, and those who establish the salat and spend out of what we have provided for them. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. Notice here that salat of highlighted in red, and anything that's sort of used in conjunction with salat of highlighted in orange. Okay, just to sort of make it easy on the eyes. Okay, so here it's saying with salat, you are to believe in the ghaib, in the unseen, and you are to spend of what was provided for you. Does that make sense? Okay, we'll go on to the next verse. Now, chapter 2, verse 43. And establish salah, says prayer here. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ, and give zakah. وَآتُوا zakata. Brothers, I can't stress the importance of zakah. In this presentation, I'm not going to talk about zakah. Okay, that's maybe for another time. Now, there are many verses throughout the Quran, many, that make mention of salat and zakat together. Wallahi, there are so many verses. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا zakat. There are many verses. So it just goes to show the importance of zakah. That zakah is used in conjunction with salat, brothers. That's very important, okay? And bow with those who bow. Now, this is another thing we need to pay attention to. He also mentions, in conjunction with salah, he mentioned وَارْكَعُوا مَعَ الرَّاكِئِينَ. Now, this comes from that word ruku. Okay, the word ruku in Arabic, in the Arabic language, okay, comes from the root ra, kaf, ain. It can mean the following: bowed, bent, incline, humility, humble yourself, lower the head, fall upon his face, stumbled. This is what it can mean in the Arabic language. Okay, now, if you guys have the opinion, or you're sort of more, you have like a more metaphorical understanding to this, that's fine. But it does say in the Arabic, bow. It can mean that, brothers. Of course, if you want to take this literally, like a literal bowing, or a metaphorical bowing, it's up to you, brothers. It's up to you how you take this, okay? If you want to say, ruku simply means humility or the humbleness, that's fine. As long as it's within the confines of the Arabic language, brothers and sisters. Okay, I hope I've made myself clear. So here it says, salat, okay, and also in conjunction with salat, zakah, and bow with those who bow. It's up to you how you take bow, brothers. It's up to you, okay? Here's another verse. Chapter 2, verse 45. And seek help through patience and salah. وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. So salah is used together with sabr, okay? Let's go to the next verse. See also chapter 2, verse 153. Says pretty much the same thing. Okay, here's another verse. Chapter 2, verse 125. And mention when we made the house a place of return for the people and a place of security. And take, O believers, from the standing place of Ibrahim, it says Maqami Ibrahima Musalla. The word Musalla comes from that same root, Sad Lam Waw. Now, whether you say it means prayer, or it means submission, or it means to follow closely, it's up to you, brothers, okay? And saying, and we charged Ibrahim and Ismail, saying to them, purify my house for those who perform tawaf, and those who are staying there for worship, and those who bow and prostrate, okay? It says, warukka is sujood. So here it's got the word ruku, and it's also got the word sujood here. Now, in Arabic, okay, the word sujood comes from the root sin, jim, dal. In Arabic, it means the following: lowly, humble, submissive, worship, adore, prostrate, make obeisance, lower or bend oneself towards the ground, lower the head, to salute, magnify, honor, to pay respect, to stand up, to look continually, and tranquilly. Now, again, like the word ruku, whether you take it literally or you take it metaphorically is up to you, brothers. It's up to you how you understand this. Whether you want to say sujood simply means, it means to just humble yourself or submissiveness. And I understand why they would say this, because there are other verses that mention sujood. For example, there's a verse that says, if I can remember it correctly, it says that Yusuf alayhi salam had a dream where he saw the sun and the moon prostrating to him. They were prostrating to him. Now, surely this doesn't mean they were literally bowing their heads, were they? You know what I mean? So this may, in those sort of verses, it gives the impression that they were humbling themselves before, they were adoring him, or they were paying respects to him. Do you see what I mean? That depends. It depends on how you guys interpret it, brothers, and how you guys understand it. I'm not here to tell you what is right and wrong. I'm just doing bayyinah of the verses. Okay, moving on. Here's another verse, chapter 2, verse 238. Maintain with care the salat, as-salawati, and in particular the middle salat, was-salatil wusta. Now this word wusta means either middle or can also mean something like balanced, have a balanced approach to it. It's up to you how you guys take this, okay? And stand before Allah devoutly obedient. Waqumu, standing. Lillahi qanitin. So stand with obedience, okay? Whether you want to take this literally or metaphorically is up to you, brothers, okay? Now, moving on. You see, the point I'm trying to get at here, there's so many, the word salat is used in conjunction with so many things throughout the Qur'an. This is amazing, okay? Now, next verse, chapter 4, verse 43. Now, look at this verse. This verse is actually a prohibition, okay? O you who believe, do not approach salah while you are in state of intoxication until you know what you are saying, okay? La taqrabu salata wa antum sukara. Do not approach the salah in a state of intoxication, okay? Until you know what you are saying. You can read the rest of the verse in your own time, brothers. Because of time, I'm going to try to go through it quickly. Now, here's a quote. Here's another lengthy verse. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of it, okay? Now, basically what it's saying is that in a time of war, in a time of conflict, it's basically saying that you could shorten the salat. You could shorten it. You could read that in your own time, okay? Now, at the end of it, this is important. It says, indeed, as-salata has been decreed upon the believers at specific times. Kitaban mawquta. It's at prescribed times. It's been decreed upon us. Okay? That's another important factor here. Here's another verse. Chapter 4, verse 142. Indeed, the hypocrites try to deceive Allah, but it is He who is deceiving them. And when they stand for salat, they stand with laziness, showing themselves for the people, like showing off, and not remember Allah except but little. See, there's 3 points here. Now here, Allah is addressing us to say, when you're doing salat, however you translate it, brothers, when you're doing salat, avoid these things. Now, at the end of the video, I'm going to give you a whole list of verses that are used in conjunction with salah, okay? And here it's basically saying just avoid these things. Don't stand with laziness. Don't do it for showing off, etc. Okay, makes sense? Moving on. Now, chapter 5, verse 6. O you who believe, when you rise, now this is an interesting one. When you rise to do as-salat, when you rise to do salat, okay, however you translate that, it says wash your faces and your forearms to the elbows. Okay? Your faces, your arms up to the elbows, and wipe over your heads. And wash your feet to the ankles. Now look at that. Now here in this verse, it's saying before you do salat, that you need to perform some sort of a washing. Now, I don't want to use the word ritual. I know a lot of people look at that negatively, but this is some sort of a process of washing and cleaning oneself. Okay? And it says to do this before you do the salat. That's really interesting. And it says towards the end of it, and if you do not find water, if you can't find water, it says then seek clean earth, like grab soil, and put it over your faces and your hands with it. Now, it's interesting because I know some brothers say salah simply means adherence, or it means do your duty. But the question is now, why would I have to wash and cleanse myself before I do a duty? For example, if a duty is something like, give in charity. If you see salah as giving charity, for an example, Now, why do I have to wash myself before doing that? Okay, it's just it's just something interesting. I'm not here to criticize anyone. I'm just asking questions along the way. Okay. Now, moving on. Okay, chapter 5, verse 91. Shaitan only wants to cause between you animosity and hatred for intoxicants and gambling, and to avert you from the remembrance of Allah, dhikrillahi and as-salata. Now here it's got as-salat used in conjunction with dhikr, the dhikrillah, remembering Allah. Okay, that's another important factor. Now moving on, here's another verse, chapter 6, verse 72. And establish salah, aqimu salata, and fear him, wattaquhu. That comes from that taqwa word. Whether you say it means fear Allah or it means to have consciousness of Allah, it's up to you. Have this taqwa together with salah. Okay, moving on. Here's another verse, chapter 6, verse 92. And this is a book which we have sent down, blessed, and confirming what was before it, that you may warn them of the cities and those around it. Those who believe in the hereafter believe in it, and they are maintaining their salah. Salatihim yuhafidhun. Hafidhun means, guardian or protecting. So you're protecting your salah. Okay? Now here's another verse, chapter 6, verse 162. I love this supplication. The messenger is told to say the following. Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alamin. Such a beautiful supplication. So the messenger is told to say, verily my salah is, my salah and my sacrifice and my living and my dying is for the Rabbil Alamin. Subhanallah. So salah is purely for Allah. Purely for Allah. Okay? Here's another verse. Chapter 7, verse 170. But those who hold fast to the book, listen to this. Yumassikuna bil kitab, holding fast to the book. Okay? And establish salah. Wa aqimus salata. Indeed, will not allow to be lost the reward of the reformers. So again, see? Holding fast to the book is used in conjunction with salah. So many verses like this. Here's another verse. Chapter 8, verse 35. And their salah, now this is regarding the mushrikeen, okay, the pagans. Their salah at the house was not except whistling and clapping. Think about that. Like this salah just involved whistling and clapping. Now think about this for one moment. Not that I'm criticizing anyone, but you have, like, for example, you have Christians, right? In their churches, what do? They usually sing and clap and dance. It sort of resembles that. Not that I've got anything against Christians. Okay? Now, moving on. Here's another verse. Look at this. This is very interesting. Okay? Chapter 11, verse 89. They said, O Shu'aib, now the people of Shu'aib alayhi salam, does your salat, command that we should leave what our fathers worship? Or not do with our wealth what we please? Think about that. Does your salah, whatever your salat is, does it command you that we should give up what our fathers worshipped and not do what we please with our wealth? So salat is, when you think of it, salat is also about monotheism, worshipping the one God and shutting all idol worship, right? And also to spend of what Allah has provided for you, like earlier in Surah Al-Baqarah. Spend, see? Salat can't be just this one thing, brothers. It's a wide range of things. Does that make sense? Moving on. Here's another verse, chapter 11, 114. And establish salat. Now, here it says, وَأَقِيمِ الصَّلَاةَ. Now, look, I know some brothers pointed this out to me. It says, this is actually, وَأَقِيمِ الصَّلَاةَ. This is actually masculine singular. You can say it's sort of addressing a single person, right? وَأَقِيمِ الصَّلَاةَ at the two ends of the day. طَرَفَيِّ النَّهَارِ and at the approach of the night. وَزُلَفًا, the approach, مِنَ اللَّيْلِ. Indeed, the good deeds do away with the misdeeds. That is a reminder for those who remember. Now, I know it says it's singular pronoun, وَأَقِيمُ, and it doesn't say وَأَقِيمُ صَلَاةَ. I understand that, brothers. But the question is, but the verse, like, if he had started off by saying, Ya ayyuhan nabi, O Prophet, aqim as-salah, I could understand that it's addressing him. I understand that. But it doesn't say that here. Okay? It's something to really think about. Again, it's up to you how you guys take this, okay? It says to do salah, excuse me, at the two ends of the day, okay? And in the approach of the night. Okay? I know traditionally they use this verse to sort of come up with the 5 daily prayers. And I understand why they do that. Okay? I'm not criticizing anyone here. Okay? Now, moving on to the next verse. Now, similar to the verse before, chapter 17, verse 78, it says, establish salah, aqim salah, again singular, okay? At the declining of the sun, liduluki shamsi, until the darkness of the night, ila ghasaqil layli, and also the recitation of the dawn, wa Qur'anan fajri, the recitation, the Qur'an al fajri. Indeed, the recitation of dawn is ever witnessed. Now here it's mentioning, performing salah, however you translate that, brothers, at the declining of the sun until the darkness of the night, and recite Quran at Fajr, at dawn. Okay? It's up to you how you guys take this. Okay? I'm just making bayyinah of the verses, brothers and sisters. Okay? Moving on. Now here's another verse, chapter 17, 110. Call upon Allah, or call upon the Ar-Rahman, the most merciful. Whichever name you call to him belong the best names. And do not, listen to this, do not recite too loudly in your bisalatika. Don't do it too loudly, nor too quietly, but seek between them away. Not too loudly and not too silently. Now, it's interesting that traditionally we're told that, the Dhuhr and the Asr prayers, that Muslims need to recite silently. Because they say traditionally, at the time of the Prophet, when he was at the Kaaba doing worship, when he was doing salat, apparently the mushrikeen will make fun of him. So Jibreel revealed to him to say, okay, do silently these specific prayers. But how can that be when this verse here says, don't do it too loudly and don't do it too silently? Think about that. Okay? So seek away in between. Okay? Now, of course, there's the other side of the scale where if you say salah simply means do your duty, for example, or following closely, or adhering to, what would you want to do not too loudly and not too silently? That doesn't make sense. Okay, if that's how you guys take it, khalas, alhamdulillah. Okay, moving on. Here's another verse, chapter 19, verse 59. But there came after them successors, generations who neglected salah. Ada'u salata, they neglected it and pursued desires. Wattaba'u shahawati. So they are going to meet evil. So there's later generations that appeared, they neglected salat and they followed desires. So here this is trying to give us like a prohibition. Avoid doing this. Make sure you don't fall into this trap, brothers and sisters. Okay? Again, I'm going to put all this in the dot form later. Inshallah, it'll make sense. Chapter 20, verse 14. And this is Allah Azza wa Jalla speaking to Musa alayhi salam, saying to him, indeed, I am Allah. There is no deity except me. So worship me and establish salah for my remembrance. Look, وَأَقِيمَ الصَّلَاةَ لِلذِّكْرِ. Remember the other verse that says ذِكْرِ and salat, okay, used in conjunction. But here it says, do the salat for my remembrance. Subhanallah. So salah involves doing dhikr, remembering Allah in abundance. Okay? Here's another verse, chapter 20, verse 132. And enjoin salah upon your family and be steadfast therein. وَأْمُرْ أَحْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَاسْتَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا. We ask for you no provision, we provide for you, and the best outcome is for those of righteousness. So encourage, enjoy salah upon your families. Okay? Here's another verse, chapter 23, verse 1 to 2. Certainly will the believers have succeeded. I think is al-mu'minun. Okay? They who are during their salat humbly intent. الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. This word is interesting here. That you do your salat with khashi'un, okay? Comes from the root kha, shin, ain. It can mean the following in Arabic. Lowly, humble, submissive, still and low, to lower the eyes or the voice, sink nearly, disappear in a setting place, be eclipsed, go away, become lean, wither, dry up, feign lowliness, humility in demeanor, or voice or eyes, eject a thing, bow or bend down to the head and the body, be fearful. Now again, this is similar to the ruku and the sujood verses. Whether you take this literally or metaphorically is up to you, brothers. Okay? I'm just presenting the fact. Whatever you think or believe the salah to be, as long as it's within the confines of the Arabic language, that's important, brothers. Okay? We shouldn't be plucking terms out of the Qur'an and giving them entirely different definitions. Okay? Moving on, inshallah. Chapter 24, verse 37. Men who neither commerce nor sale distracts them from the remembrance of Allah, dhikrillah, and perform salah, iqam salata, and giving of zakah, and fear are that which the heart and the eyes will be filled with turning about. Okay? Here it says that what doing salah should not hinder you. It should not distract you from the remembrance of Allah and doing salat. Okay, so dhikrullah and salat again is used in conjunction here, and it's saying don't let commerce or business distract you. Okay, moving on. Chapter 24, verse 41. Do you not see that Allah is exalted? This is very interesting as well. Do you not see that Allah is exalted by whomsoever is in the heavens and the earth, and by the birds with wings spread? Each, it says kullun, the word Arabic, kullun, each has known its own salat. Look at that. Every living being in the heavens and the earth, including the birds stretching out their wings, they know their salat. Isn't that interesting? So how can you say salat just simply means ritual prayer? You know what I mean? They know their salat. Whether you say this means, they are glorifying, or they are submitting or surrendering to the will of Allah. It's up to you how you take it. But everything in the heavens and the earth is doing salat, brothers. See how salat, see how it's used throughout the Qur'an? It's a wide range of things in the Qur'an, and not one specific thing, brothers. Isn't that interesting? And exalting Him, and Allah is knowing of what they do. Okay, inshallah, moving on. Okay, chapter 24, verse 56. O you who believe, let those whom your right hands possess, and I've actually covered the right hand possess in another video. I urge you to please go look at that video. And those who have not yet reached puberty among you, ask for your permission before they come into your presence. It mentions three things here: Salat al-Fajr, the noontime where you put your clothes aside, and it also mentions Salat al-Isha. Now it's up to you how you guys take this. Salat al-Fajr, Salat al-Isha, up to you how you take this, okay? But it doesn't make mention of those here in the verses. You could look at this in your own time, okay? Here's another verse. Chapter 29, verse 45. Recite, utlu, O Muhammad alayhi salam, what has been revealed to you of the book, and establish salah, wa aqim salata. Indeed, salat, it says prohibits, but the words actually, I can't remember what it was, but it actually means prevents. Salat prevents immorality and wrongdoing. Al-fakhsha'i wal-munkar. Salat prevents, it stops in its tracks. Al-fakhsha'i wal-munkar. Now think about this, brothers and sisters. How many times I've heard this? How many times in lectures? You have a sheikh or an imam screaming at his audience saying, brothers and sisters, it doesn't matter how much of a sinner you are. If you're fornicating, if you're drinking alcohol, if you're a drug dealer, as long as you're doing the 5 daily salats, you're saved. Really? That's what they say. But here, look what it says. Salat prevents, it stops in its tracks. Al-fakhsha'i wal-munkar. So if you're doing salah, whatever you say it means, okay? If you're doing your salah, at the same time you're doing major sins, you're not doing salah, brothers. No, you're doing it in vain, brothers. According to this verse, it should be stopping you, brothers. Subhanallah. Okay, moving on. Okay, here's another verse, chapter 31, verse 17. Now this is Luqman alayhi salam advising his son. Okay, so, oh my son, aqim as-salata, establish salah. Enjoin what is right, wa'mur bil ma'ruf, enjoin what is right, and forbid what is wrong. Wanha anil munkar, and forbid what is wrong, and be patient over what befalls you. Indeed, that is a matter of requiring result. Like that sort of covers all matters. Okay, so together with salat, he advised him to perform salat, and at the same time enjoin what is good and forbid what is wrong. Do you see how these verses that uses salat in conjunction with so many other things? So it's like an umbrella term when you think about it. Okay? And it's not just one specific thing. Here's another verse, chapter 35, verse 29. Indeed, those who recite the book of Allah, yatluna kitab Allah, reciting the book of Allah, and establish salat, wa aqimu salata, stand in the cause of what we've provided for them, secretly and publicly, and can expect a transaction that will never perish. Okay? Again, here it says, together with salat, it says reciting the book. Now, I know some brothers ask the question, and it's a legitimate question. They say, okay, when it says reciting the book, does that mean reciting the book to the people or reciting the book back to Allah? Brothers, how you take that is up to you. I'm not here to say you're right, you're wrong. Okay? I'm trying to leave my opinions at the door. Okay? I'm just here to do bayina of the verses, brothers. Okay? I'm going to put this in the dot form shortly. Okay, here's another verse, chapter 62, verse 9 to 10. O you who believe, when it says the adhan, doesn't say adhan there, when the calling is called for the salat on the day of Jummah, lis salati min yawmin Jummah, then proceed to the remembrance of Allah and leave trade. That is better for you if you only you knew. And when the salat has been concluded, disperse within the land and seek from the bounty of Allah. And remember Allah often that you may be successful. Now, usually, traditionally, they refer to this as a Jummah prayer, which is done on Fridays, okay? Some argue it doesn't refer to that, especially the Qur'an only. They say it just means, because the word Jummah, which is interesting, Jummah actually means in Arabic, I'm going to try to get through this quickly, Jim, Mim, Ayn, and it means the following in Arabic: to collect or gather, bring together, to contract, to assemble or congregate, unite or connect or form a connection, to bring into a state of union, etc., etc. You could look at that in your own time. So Jummah is like a gathering. Now, I know they say, oh, this doesn't mean one specific day. However, but it says here, Yawmi, day. It says Yawmi, which is interesting. The day of gathering. Again, it's up to you how you guys take this. Okay? Now, moving on. Here's another verse, quite lengthy verse, chapter 73, verse 20. Now, basically, this is addressing Prophet Muhammad, that he stands in the night, much of the night, two-thirds or half of the night, and a group with you. And it says, and recite, tells the Prophet Muhammad to recite what is easy for you. And then later in the verse says, so recite what is easy from it. فَقْرَؤُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنْهُ and establish salah. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ. Okay? Let's say when you're standing in the night, when you're doing a salata, recite what is easy for you. Okay? Again, whether it means recite it to the people or recite it back to Allah, it's up to you how you guys take it. Okay? Moving on. Now, this is another interesting one regarding salah. Okay, look. Chapter 73, verse 31 to 32. Look at this. And he, the disbeliever, had not believed. This is believed here in the translation, which is a bit bizarre. It says saddaqa, okay? Nor did he pray. It says salla, the word salla, which comes to the same root. Salla, one root, okay? He didn't believe, nor he did salla. But then it says walakin, but instead, walakin, kathaba wa tawalla. Rather than doing A and B, rather than that, they did C and D. So think about this. If you put two and two together, kathaba wa tawalla has to be the opposite of these, wouldn't it? So saddaqa, now it says here, deny, kathaba. Now, kathaba can mean to deny. It can also mean to lie. For example, in Arabic, it's well known. Now, if you say to someone, this person's a kadhab, that means he's a liar or he's a compulsive liar, right? So the opposite of lying would be telling the truth, wouldn't it? Saddaqa, speaking the truth. And here it says tawalla, turning away. Now you see this term used throughout the Quran, tawalla, those who turn away from you. Okay? What would be the opposite of tawalla? Tawalla, the opposite would be turning towards, wouldn't it? To submit, to surrender, to approve, to accept. Right? Do you see how this verse sort of portrays the word salla? Right? To accept, to approve, to submit, to turn towards. Do you see how interesting that is? Subhanallah. Moving on. Chapter 107, verse 4 to 7. So woe to those who do salat. Lil musallin, the ones who are doing salat. Those who are haters of their salat. Salatihim, right? Those who make show of their deeds. Yura'un. So those who are doing salat, but they're doing it in heedlessness, and they're doing it to show off. So Allah is telling us to watch out for this. Again, I'm going to put this in dot form in soon. Here we go. Okay, brothers and sisters, look at this. From the verses I've shown you, and brothers, believe me, there's probably so many more verses. There's so many more verses. From the ones I've shown you, what I've concluded is this. The salat is used in conjunction with so many things, okay? Now, these are actual commands when you think about it. Allah would say, do A and salat, for example. Or he'll say, do A and B and salat. But what is this A and B? These are other instructions or commands that are found throughout the Qur'an, are they not? They're commands when you think about it, brothers. Now look at this. Let's just recap the verses here. Remember chapter 2, verse 3? الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ, those who believe in the unseen and spend on what was provided for them. That's used together with salat. So these are commands that are used together with salat. You could even say these are like pillars of the salat. Without these pillars, you don't have salat. Okay, look, again, I hope I'm getting you thinking, brothers. Remember those verses? Aqimu salat wa atu zakah. There's so many verses like this. Zakah is used in conjunction with salat. So you need to do zakah. Whatever you believe zakah to be, you have to do it together with salat. It's a command. Okay, so this is a list of do's. Do these in salat. Here, bow with those who bow. Remember the word ruku? Again, ruku, depending on how you translate it, brothers. Whether you believe it's a literal bowing down or you believe it's a more metaphorical, to incline or be humility or be submissive. It's up to you how you take it. Okay? Now, next verse. Remember, istainu bis-sabri was-salah, having sabr together with salah. Okay? Another verse. Taking the place of salat of Ibrahim, musalla. Now, this depends on how you look at it. Now, the Qur'an does say frequently, instructs Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to follow the way of Ibrahim. Millata Ibrahima tells Muhammad to take the place of Ibrahim ﷺ. Now, because you have to understand, all the prophets and messengers, they all did salat, brothers and sisters. Okay? This is not just something unique to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. They all did salat. And Allah instructs Muhammad ﷺ to follow the way of Ibrahim. So however Ibrahim did salat, Muhammad ﷺ followed in his footsteps. Doesn't that make sense? Moving on. Chapter 2, verse 125. Bow and prostrate. Remember, salat used together with bowing and prostrating? Now, bow, ruku, and sujood depends on how you look at that translation. Do you want to take it literally, a literal bowing or prostrating? Or do you want to say it simply means to be submissive or have humility or to be humble? It's up to you how you guys take this, okay? Because we're all accountable for ourselves on the Day of Judgment, brothers, okay? Now, moving on. Chapter 2, verse 238. Maintain with care the salat, especially the middle salat. Salatul wusta, okay? So you're protecting, you're taking salah very seriously, okay? Chapter 2, verse 238. Stand before Allah devoutly obedient, standing with devotion to Allah, right? Here's another verse, chapter 4, verse 101. There's no blame upon you in a state of war, in a time of conflict, that you shorten the salah, okay? And again, the salah is at prescribed times, kitaban mawquta, I think it was, in Arabic. It's at prescribed times, salat. Here's another verse, chapter 5, verse 6. It says here, it prescribes some sort of, again, I don't want to use the word ritual, some sort of cleanliness, okay? Says to, before you rise to do salat, wash your faces, your hands up to the elbows, wet your heads and your feet. And if you can't find water, get dry earth, wipe your faces and your hands with it, okay? That's what it says, to do with salah, okay? Now, doing salat together with fearing Allah, wattaquhu, having taqwa, right? Doing it for the Lord of the world only, for Allah alone, Allah alone. Okay, chapter 7, verse 170, to hold fast to the book together with salah. Another verse, chapter 11, verse 114, doing the salah at the two ends of the day and the approach of the night. Moving on, continue. There are so many verses like these, brothers. Chapter 17, verse 78, doing the salah at the declining of the sun until the darkness of the night. However you guys want to translate that, okay? Chapter 20, verse 14, do the salat li-dhikri, for the remembrance of Allah. Okay, chapter 20, verse 132, enjoining salah upon your families and being steadfast with it. Chapter 23, verse 1 to 2, being humbly intent in your salah, having khashi'un. Remember, that could be humbleness or submissiveness, right, etc., etc. Chapter 29, verse 45, salah prevents immorality and wrongdoing. So if you're doing salah, brothers and sisters, and you're still at the same time doing major sins, gambling and drinking and God knows what else, there's a problem in your salat, brothers. See all these verses, brothers? These are a list of do's in salat. Allah, these are commands. Allah is saying, with salat, do the following. Do the following. These are pillars of the salat. Without this, you don't have salat, brothers. So I find it really shocking that a traditional Muslim will just say, oh, yeah, salat is just 5 daily prayers. As long as you do that, who cares what else you do? No. That's not what the Quran says, brothers. Sorry. Moving on. Chapter 31, verse 17. Enjoin what is good and forbid what is wrong. Remember Luqman alayhi salam encouraging his son? Do salah and together at the same time. Enjoin what is good and forbid what is wrong, brothers. Very important. Okay, moving on. Chapter 35, verse 29. Recite the book of Allah together with salah. Okay, whether you understand recite it to the people or recite it back to Allah is up to you. Okay? Now, chapter 62, verse 9 to 10. Leave trade and business and go to the Jummah. You could say, Jummah simply means congregation, right? Go to the assembly of the Salat and don't let trade or business distract you from Salat. Okay? And chapter 72, verse 20, recite what is easy for you. Okay? With Salat, recite what is easy for you. Okay. Again, brothers and sisters, regardless, listen very carefully, regardless of what you think or believe Salah to be, okay? As long as we are all together, we are all following the commands regarding Salah in the Qur'an. Whatever okay, if you say it's a ritual prayer, if you do that, as long as you are following the Quranic guidelines, brothers and sisters, that's very important. It's such a shame that, a person, a Muslim growing up or someone who's converted to Islam, they teach him this ritualistic prayer, right? They say, okay, Fajr is this many rak'ah, you need to stand like this, bow like this, say this 3 times, say that 3 times. But the question is, do they ever bring out the Qur'an and say, the Qur'an says A, B, C, D, E, F, G regarding Salah? They never do this. That's such a shame, brothers and sisters. The Qur'an literally is on the bench. Why doesn't the Qur'an play a role in Salah? Think about it. Salah is so important according to the Qur'an. Are we looking at these guidelines? Think about it. Now, now commands regarding Salat. Don'ts in Salah. Remember I gave you a whole list of do's? And I'm sure you guys can find your own, right? Don't do these in Salah. Look at these prohibitions. Don't do it while intoxicated. Remember those verses? Don't do it with laziness. Don't do it to show off. Salat, whatever you believe Salat to be. Don't do Salah while remembering Allah very little. Like you're doing Salah, your mind all over the place. Whistling and clapping. I see this as don't make mockery of Salat. Take it very seriously. Okay? Do not recite too loudly or quietly in Salat. Don't do it too loudly, don't do it too silently. Are we adhering to these commands? Think about it. Don't neglect and pursue desires. Avoid this, as generations after did, right? Chapter 24, verse 37. Don't let comments or trade distract you from the remembrance of Allah or Salat. And those who are haters of the Salat. Brothers, do you see what I'm getting at here? I've just brought all the verses, put them all together, saying that these are all commands that are found throughout the Quran. There's a whole list of do's and a whole list of don'ts. Brothers, I'm happy to share this PowerPoint presentation with you. You could add further, you could improve on it, you could share it with your friends, okay, you could do what you will with it. But at the end of the day, brothers and sisters, whatever you think or believe Salah to be, whether you say, okay, it's a 5 daily prayer, or you say it means adherence, or it means duty, or it means following closely, or it means Salah sessions, whatever you think it is, brothers, okay? At the end of the day, as long as we are following the Quranic guidelines, the do's and don'ts regarding Salah. You know what I would do personally? I would take all the verses in the Quran. This is just advice from me to you. Take all the verses regarding Salah, put them into like a spreadsheet, copy and paste them into a spreadsheet or into a Word document, print it out for yourself, and just have a pen with you and just say, okay, when I'm doing Salah, whatever I believe it is, am I avoiding intoxicants? Yes, check. Am I avoiding laziness? Check. Am I avoiding to show off? Check. You know, like the verses before. Remember? Am I doing it at the declining of the sun and the darkness of the night? Am I doing it purely to remember Allah? Am I enjoining this Salat onto my families? Is Salat preventing me from doing immoral and wrongdoing acts? Make a checklist for yourself. Think about that, brothers. Here's my question, especially to the traditional Muslims. Here's my question. On the Day of Judgment, brothers and sisters, We're all going to face Allah. There's no doubt. La rayba fi. There's no doubt about this. Okay? Would you rather be that person who stands there with confidence before Allah saying, my Lord, I studied carefully your book. I looked at all the verses regarding salat, and I did my utmost best to follow your verses in doing salat. And I hope you can accept this from a Ya Rab. Or would you rather be the other person who says, my Lord, I didn't have much time to look at your book. I was too busy, but I did follow the practices of my forefathers. Which one would you rather be, brothers and sisters? Think about that. Remember, a whole list of do's and don'ts regarding salah. Now, here's my final conclusion, brothers, regarding salah. Again, I'm not forcing my opinion onto you. It's up to you how you take this. Salah, according to the Qur'an, it's an umbrella term, okay? Salat is a wide range of commands. Commands. Remember the do's and don'ts. Do this in salah. Do that in salah. Do not do that in salah. Do not do this in salah. Do you understand what I'm saying? Within the Qur'an, within the guidelines of the Qur'an, and not merely one specific thing. Think about that, brothers and sisters. And again, it depends on how you take these. Whether you take the verses regarding sujood or ruku to mean, humble yourself, or to bow down literally, it's up to you how you take it, brothers and sisters. Are you and I, are we following the guidelines of the Quran? Have we done this? Have we done our homework? Or are we just going to continue following forefathers? Think about this, brothers and sisters. Subhanallah, salah is very, very important, brothers. We should take it very seriously. Okay? Again, brothers and sisters, I'm happy to share this PowerPoint presentation with you, or everything that I've got. I'll share it with you. As long as you benefit and you share it with your friends. And I'm a person, I'm open to constructive criticism, brothers and sisters. If I'm wrong about something, I'm wrong. Okay? I'm only learning. I'm a student, just like everybody else. Allah is our teacher. He's the one who teaches us what is right, what is wrong. Allah is the one who teaches us what salat is, not our forefathers, brothers and sisters. Okay? I hope you guys have benefited from the video. Hopefully I did a better job this time than last time. Until next time, stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Assalamu alaikum.